In the tranquil Greenwood Valley, nestled between soft green hills and ancient oak trees, time moved a little slower. Seasons rolled in gently, carried on the breeze that whispered through fields of golden wheat and tidy rows of vegetables. The heart of this land was a modest farmhouse with peeling white paint, a red barn that leaned slightly to the left, and a man named Eli Turner, who had grown older alongside the land he loved. Eli wasn't just a farmer. He was Greenwood's living history. He had worked the soil for over 40 years, waking with the sun and retiring only when the moon cast long silver shadows across the fields. His father had farmed this land before him, and his grandfather before that. Eli knew every hill, every tree, and every stretch of fence line like he knew the lines in his own weathered hands. But time had changed Greenwood Valley. The once sleepy town now bustled with new houses, supermarkets, and gas stations with digital signs. Kids no longer played by the creek, and the local hardware store had shut its doors years ago, replaced by an online delivery hub. Despite it all, Eli's farm stood like a relic of a forgotten era. This year, though, had been harder than any Eli could remember. The spring rains came late, and when they did, they came with a vengeance. Torrents of water flooded the lowlands, drowning the early potato crop and eroding the soil he'd painstakingly prepared. Eli trudged through mud, heart heavy, watching plants he'd nurtured rot before his eyes. The chickens stopped laying, the cows grew listless, and a tree he'd planted with his father toppled in the wind like a broken promise. Then came the drought. For weeks, the sun scorched the valley. The earth cracked and hardened under his boots. Eli tried everything, dug trenches, prayed for clouds, rationed water. Still, the crops withered. Every morning he walked his fields like a soldier inspecting a battlefield, his heart breaking at the damage. One hot August afternoon a letter came, yellow envelope heavy in his hands. It was from the bank. The farm loan, his last hope during the wet season, was being called in. Eli had 30 days to pay or lose everything. He sat on the porch that evening, hat on his knee, watching the sun dip below the hills. The fields he'd bled for now stretched out like a wounded animal before him. His hands, once full of purpose, trembled with the weight of the moment. "Maybe the land's had enough of me," he said softly, to no one at all. But the land hadn't had enough of Eli. The next morning, Eli woke to the low rumble of engines. Groggy and expecting more bad news, he stepped out and froze. Cars, trucks, and old tractors lined the driveway. Dozens of people were climbing out, some in overalls, others in office clothes and sneakers. A few carried rakes and hoes. One woman held a tray of seedlings. Children ran excitedly, chasing chickens around the coop. At the front stood Maya Green, her dark hair tied back, clipboard in hand, and a fire in her eyes. "Mr. Turner," she said with a grin, "you helped my mother years ago when our roof caved in. You lent her money, and you never asked for it back. We haven't forgotten." Behind her, a chorus of voices rang out. "Eli fixed our tractor when no one else would. He brought us eggs every winter. He taught me how to prune apple trees." Eli, overwhelmed, tried to speak. His voice caught in his throat. "We heard about the letter," Maya continued. "You've given this town so much. It's our turn now." For the next 30 days, Greenwood Valley transformed. Every morning, before the sun rose, the driveway filled with volunteers. Maya had organized a community schedule. People brought food, tools, money, and labor. Retired mechanics fixed Eli's old harvester. Teens dug irrigation trenches. A local tech whiz created a crowdfunding campaign that exploded on social media with the hashtag #Save Turner Farm. Maya, meanwhile, worked tirelessly, organizing shifts, keeping books, managing calls. She even drove into the city to speak with a sustainable farming nonprofit that donated resources and seeds. Eli, initially reluctant, soon found himself swept into the rhythm. He taught the younger volunteers how to check soil pH, how to rotate crops, and how to gently handle fragile roots. He smiled more, slept better, and began to hope. The land, too, responded. The early September rains came just in time. The newly planted crops, late harvest beans, kale, carrots, took root. The orchard, long ignored, bloomed under careful pruning. Chickens began laying again, and even the cows seemed content. As the deadline approached, the bank sent an inspector. Eli stood beside Maya as the man toured the revitalized fields. Behind him, workers moved through the rows, laughing and picking ripe vegetables. A drone hovered above, live streaming the moment to thousands online. The inspector paused, took in the vibrant life around him, and made a note in his book.
2 weeks later, the farm's loan was restructured and approved under a rural renewal initiative, largely thanks to a push from Maya and the viral attention they'd garnered. Eli kept the farm. The harvest that fall was modest, but rich in meaning. As the leaves turned gold and red, Greenwood gathered for a celebration. Tables stretched across the fields, covered in food grown by many hands. Old stories were shared, new friendships were forged, and laughter echoed through the valley. Years passed. Maya eventually moved back to Greenwood permanently, raising her children in a small cottage near the farm. Every weekend, they rode the tractor with Eli, now their adopted grandfather. The old man's hands were still rough, his back still bent, but his eyes shone with pride and peace. And every autumn, when the first chill hit the air, people would gather for a harvest dinner, remembering the summer the town came together, not just to save a farm, but to rediscover what it meant to be a family. Because sometimes the strongest seeds are the ones planted in the hearts of people.